Hey, everybody. How's it going? Y'all can't make me just sit up here and have a conversation by myself. That would just be weird.
Hi, Amy. I won't let you talk by yourself.
Thanks, Sandra.
I'll give you some conversation. I am having trouble with my unstable networks. That's why I have my camera off right now. Because I don't have a direct connection to my line.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe I can try and turn it back on and see if I'm going to be stable or not.
So you
Hi,
connect.
Lori. How are you? Hey, Chris.
Wow.
Good morning.
Okay, so it's a big black box. Am I coming through to you guys or no?
Not with camera.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's right. You got a great profile pic, so go with that.
The college did those a few years back, so my hair is a little less red now. I guess the natural. Submitting my request. I do not see it, but Patrick's got a request to log in. I don't know. I don't know that anybody has to approve that, right? You just click on it. And
I had added you before, Patrick. I don't know why it's not working.
Hi, Renee. So fun to see familiar faces.
I know.
Sorry, you can't see mine, but I promise I'm here. I'm ready to go. Actually, I was on earlier, so you know that, right?
All right. Patrick's trying it again.
All right. Very cool.
It works. There he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, morning,
Hey, Patrick.
Morning, everybody.
Hey. So I think I saw Sandra and Renee. I know you were in that conversation. Did everybody else join that session that just occurred on
With Matt? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
I didn't know about either of those.
He's my boss, so if you have any follow-up questions, happy to help.
Which one is your
Matt Kirkner?
Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have so many questions. Like, first of all, I want that PowerPoint because I couldn't read all of it because it was really small and it looked like great information.
I have it. Happy to share it out with you. Yeah.
Cool.
So Chris, do you know much about our MACET group?
Peripherally, not directly, no.
So it's a bunch of us from across the state of Michigan that all do, what we do at OCC, what Patrick does at Comm. We all do that same kind of thing across the state. Everybody kind of, we share information, we help each other. We're like a support group, kind of, if you will. And really, we're not competing with one another. I mean, even though Macomb and Oakland are right next door to each other, we all have enough work within our boundaries.
Yeah,
we don't need to
I
compete.
would agree with that.
So we just don't. We agreed several years ago that we wouldn't do that. And if we cross over, we pick up the phone and we talk to each other. Like, there's no reason not to. So we have a really great working relationship with the group. So those of you that don't know Chris, maybe Chris, you could introduce yourself so that maybe that would be helpful.
Sure. So I work with ATS Lab Midwest. We are a distributor in the state of Michigan of educational curriculum and hands-on training products. Best known for Amatrol, but people forget that I also represent things like Miller Welding, Lincoln Welding, 3D scanning companies, cybersecurity companies, kind of a Swiss Army knife of curriculum and solutions. But I cover the eastern half of Michigan, cut up at I-75. So I have a counterpart, Alex, will probably be joining us shortly. He's in our exhibit booth room right now. But we basically work within the state of Michigan. And Matt's out of Wisconsin. We actually cover 7 states total, but Alex and I are local. So we split the 28 community colleges. So I have 14, he has 14, and we work with the programs and help everybody, particularly in advanced manufacturing. And Oakland Community College has spent millions, as has Macomb with us. I certainly know of the other schools because I've known of you a long time. Oh, there's Alex. But we're here to support. I think one of the reasons I haven't been on this before is because we try not. We're not pushy. So I'm not here to shove equipment at you, or I'm kind of I think of myself as like the guy that fixes the potholes. When you got a hole in your program and you need some help, you give me a call. And if I don't have the solution, I probably got somebody in my back pocket that does kind of thing.
So you have equipment and curriculum?
Yeah. So Amatrol is a full curriculum, e-learning, and hands-on equipment training company. So we have over 200 trainers. Everything from the real basic stuff like AC/DC and relay control and PLCs and robotics and everything is supported with a full curriculum, which separates us from everybody else. I always say I sell curriculum that comes with a trainer versus I just sell some hardware that's got some parts on a board that you got to figure out your own stuff. So we help quite a bit because we, ensure uniformity the way your classes are taught. I always say we're probably 80% of what you're going to want to teach your students, and your teacher brings that extra 20% of specialization and local knowledge and things that they've learned over the years that we did hit hard enough for them, perhaps. But yeah, and we're happy to show it to you. Alex is your representative and happy to give you an online demo anytime, or everybody. Patrick's been working with me quite a bit. He's got our e-learning deployed college-wide and through his workforce development, which is him, of course. So it's, we're out here to help.
Do you work only with colleges and universities? Are you a business to business in that regard? Or
we also do industry. So our equipment that's the factory behind me. That is Ford Grabber Blue, because Ford spent some $20 million with us on PLC launches for their plants and things, specific trainers that became generic that we offer to the educational world. So all of my 200 trainers have somebody that hired us to build those trainers and curriculum. So there's a story with everyone. If you're ever really bored, we can tell you all 200 stories. But we also work with high school programs. So we're in all the CTE programs, comprehensive high schools. So we're K-6 up through university, actually. So we have full AI capability for self-driving car studios, indoor drone studios for, like I have at Wayne State and U of M, and so.
Like kinds of fun toys.
It is. In fact, Oakland schools, the high schools, have just deployed a self-driving autonomous vehicle studio on a trailer with a couple of other vendor product lines, suppliers, but they are using it to, instead of research that you would typically do at a university, they're showing middle school kids what things are, what is AI, how does it work, how does a self-driving car look, and it's an amazing trailer that's rolling through Oakland County, and so it just goes.
How do we get a tour?
I'd be happy to set that up. I was just talking with Matt Kirkner about it. We need to set up a local tour, find out where they're going to be. They just launched this product a few months ago, so every day there's 3 people teachers, consultants on this trailer going around, and we need to just eke out a couple of hours to bring some people by because it's an amazing project and probably one of the better uses of trailers, in my opinion. I don't usually have a lot of excitement for them, but this one's pretty cool. I mean, I was watched a 5th grader, and she came off the trailer and said, "This is amazing. This is the most amazing day of my life," which was kind of a big statement to make.
Well, she's only in 5th grade. Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully there's better things down the pipe. Yeah. But I got it. She got some career ideas that probably, and they just said that's where stuff starts getting percolated. So it's important to get that exposure.
So because we're talking about credentials and micro-credentials, does your curriculum, does it only align with like SACA, or are there other credentials, or? So
Amatrol is a monstrous company in the educational business, whether it's for industry or for school systems. So they typically get invited to participate on the boards of all the major credentialing companies. And because of that, it's an agile company. they churn their curriculum to align to every one of the major credentials. So, for instance, MSSC, Manufacturing Skills Council, NIMS, if you can think of it, they're going to have a credential alignment in their curriculum for that pathway. Yep. So LIFT is probably the bigger, newer one, which is Ignite, which is really a high school CTE curriculum. Actually, I'll change that back. It's actually fits better into a comprehensive high school where they only have 45-minute windows or 50-minute windows in their classrooms. So Ignite's kind of like a pipeline program, which would feed into a community college, into a SACA kind of program. So that help?
All of it helps.
There we go.
So do you do just credential paths, or do you do anything in the micro-credential area?
Well, because of SACA, there are the micro-credentials. So SACA, again, is a membership. They're not us, but Amatral has aligned their curriculum. So think of the curriculum pile as a huge pile of textbooks. And then you go, oh, well, SACA only wants these 5 chapters. And, they were able to streamline their huge library into stuff that fits specifically into those credential packages. So, for instance, one of the micro credentials from SACA is ACDC. It's just a basic short coursework. But yeah, so they have, some 80 micro credentials in the SACA program, I think.
And they align with your curriculum.
They do. Our curriculum aligns with them. I would say it the other way around because, like I said, they're an independent third-party organization that instead of, we're a FANUC distributor in the other states, so nothing against FANUC, but FANUC has their own cert for their own robot. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like self-serving. They pat themselves on the back when you go through their training and say, okay, you can use my robot. Versus SACA goes, you can use an industrial robot. We don't care what brand it is, if it's FANUC or KUKA or ABB, whatever. It's a broader national, actually now international scope of reference. So it's interesting to have watched it develop, and it came out of industry needs. I mean, it's there were some big companies on that name sheet, and it's the autos are always the last to go though. So I can't say Ford's a member yet. Chrysler's not a member, or whatever they're going by this week, but they're certainly aware of it. I think in Michigan, we're still so desperate to have anybody show up for work that the credential's still soft. But Macomb Community College with Patrick is a full SACA member, gold member. And
Patrick likes gold.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I'm working with some of their instructors, getting all the certifications. So there's 2 levels of certification. One is silver. You might have heard that's an online credential, and then gold is when your teachers are certified from SACA to do hands-on assessment. So you actually got to travel to SACA. But once somebody's been trained, they can reproduce. Probably a poor choice of words, but they can make other gold members. You know what I mean?
So like a train the trainer situation.
Yeah, exactly. Once they're certed, they can cert somebody else. So it's the gold standards are just rolling out because obviously nobody was doing any face-to-face, so there wasn't a big need for it. But don't let me speak too much for you, Patrick. But
yeah, Patrick, can you tell us what you're doing over at Macomb? Renee, any thoughts? I hate to monopolize the conversations here.
Go ahead, Renee.
Renee might be on a call.
Sure. Chris did a great job of kind of giving a summary of what we're doing over there. And it's for those who haven't worked with Chris or Alex, the ATS is a wonderful organization to work with, and Amatral trainers are excellent. If you're looking for trainers, we really appreciate all the service that we get for those guys. And I'm not just talking just because Chris is here. I would say better things behind his back, but it's all good. He's here so I can beat him up a little bit.
There we go.
No, it's actually wonderful working with these guys. And the SACA certs, we started embedding those into our accelerated programs. We have At the moment, we have 4 that would probably be most advantageous to the group here, where we've included both the amateur trainers as well as the SOCA certifications. And those are our advanced or automated systems programs. So they're like miniature mechatronics programs, if you will. They range from 200 to 544 contact hours, go from the robotic side to the control side and HMI, depending on the area of interest. And as Chris said, we've become a gold member for SOCA. We believe the microcredentials will take off eventually here within our state. They're definitely recognized outside of Michigan a lot more than they are here, and it's starting to gain traction. Though the state of Michigan's doing some stuff with SOCA. We're pretty excited about that. So we've gone and invested everything, really into that being a good method for us to provide that nationally recognized, even though the Macomb Community College cert would probably be more recognizable to our region. But that SOCA cert long term is going to be something that we're looking for to benefit our students. And then outside the state of Michigan, it really is good. We hope to launch the Train the Trainer events, in partnership with SOCA in the future. So we're trying to get, our folks trained. We're hoping that'll and certified probably just after the first year. We're looking for that to get wrapped up, and then we'll be able to offer that to anybody that's looking to incorporate these micro-credentials. So I hope that answered your question, Sandra.
Yeah. And two, are you guys with the micro-credentials and things like that, are you transcripting those at Macomb for individuals?
Absolutely.
Okay. And are you doing that? Are you doing that through your regular system, or are you doing it through like Lumens or Destiny or?
So it goes in Lumens and then it goes over to Colleague. It transfers over. So Lumens integrates with Colleague, so everything pushes down.
Okay.
Just to be clear for those that are looking at Lumens, it's not a two-way street; it's a push. So it's a push down, and then we have people that credential everything on the back end. And the great thing is we actually have internal full-time faculty, so that made it a lot easier to do this.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all are dancing with the whole new IRS 20-factor issues with vendor instructors and adjuncts and all this other stuff. But we have some full-time faculty as well as some adjuncts for our workforce development. It made this whole process a lot easier.
Yeah. So Sandra, I know at OCC, because you don't have a full-time mechatronics person, they're kind of been sitting a little bit, I think, just waiting.
Yeah. Just a little.
Yeah, just that slot's been off and on over the years as far as whether you're going to have somebody or not. It's hopefully that still happens, because you got a lot of wonderful equipment there. So
I know, I hear you, but our hands are a little bit tied until that does happen.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean we can't embed some of those credentials in the non-credit training. The only thing is we're trying to align our non-credit training with the credit training, and when you kind of have that little bit of a hole, you get into a situation, or if you have a faculty member who just doesn't really care to work with you, you run into some situations there. Not that ever happens in the academic world, but it can from time to time. We've actually procured some really great faculty over the last 5 years or so. There's still, some that are fairly new. We've got a new robotics and faculty who seems to be really great, Jason Workman. So, I mean, getting to know each other and building those relationships is also, one of those things before you can really go down the path, building the relationship before you say, hey, we're working together, right?
Well, I mean, it's one of those too. I mean, you can always. It's not expensive to join SOCA. It's $2,500 a year. That's as many.
We're going to do that. We that's in the plans. I just
as many certs as you can run through. Brings that cost down effectively. You know what I mean? You don't have to charge for any test. That's the whole. So if you only issue one cert, that's an expensive cert. But if you even if you get 10, that's cheaper than most of the time you go pay for any other cert that's out there. So
no, definitely. And so Chris, I'll have to connect with you, because that's in my budget to do in the next couple of weeks.
Hey, no worries. Happy to come see. I mean, I drive by you all the time. It's like,
yep, for sure.
I'm going to OU doing their stuff all the time. So
So question, I get the knowledge benefit. I get the skill benefit. I get the funding benefit because so much is focused on does it have a credential, all those things. But what are you seeing? And this maybe is more towards Patrick and Sandra. What's the effect monetarily or hiring wise for the employee? So is it just knowledge, skill, recognition, or do they actually get, once they get these credentials, bumps in pay or promotions, or like what is it that they are getting in that regard?
Sandra, you want to start?
Sure. So I think from, we've been embedding them in non-credit training programs as opposed to utilizing them with the incumbent workforce. So when they get those credentials, I think that might set them apart from other individuals. I mean, something as simple as an OSHA certification, whereas then the company doesn't have to take the, couple of hours or whatever it is. I don't know, 20 hours. I don't even know what it is. It could be 4 hours to get them the OSHA certification. And I think that sets them apart coming in the door. We've got Amazon in our backyard right now, and they want to hire individuals and basically train them the Amazon way. I think if those folks are going through our PLC and robotics technician program, getting some FANUC certs, getting, some other certifications, they look at them and say, okay, I know the knowledge base that these folks have. So they might not come in at my entry level. They might come in at my step 2 or my step 3, depending on their background. So I think it enables them to get a jump on some of the other folks. Right now, it's tough to really tell the difference because most employers want a warm body that's going to come every day. And then the skills and things like that, if they don't have all the skills and certifications, they're going to train them and get them where they need them to be, and they're going to make that investment. So I think if we prepare them, going back to that Amazon example, they can come in at the secondary or third tier of that pay structure and move up a little bit quicker, as opposed to coming in with no background, in their back pocket.
So you're training more potential workers as opposed to incumbents. Are they like self-pay or taking advantage of funding programs?
Most of them are funded. Yeah, we've got short-term training programs. We've got PLC, we've got logistics, we've got some around the healthcare industry as well. And all of those have a certification or credential attached to them. We are doing some incumbent worker training, but it's been slow. The last 18 months have really put a damper on some of those internal training programs. Not that we're not doing them, but it's just, that's been really slow. I think we're looking at, with training programs for companies, we're looking at diversity, inclusion, and leadership, and how to come back to the workplace after COVID, and some of those other things. They're not necessarily jumping into technical skills right now.
How about you, Patrick?
Well, we're seeing in Macomb County in our region a little different dynamic, just because we're having probably as much corporate push for incumbent worker training as we are the other side, which would be your folks that are looking for professional development that are fully funded by a variety of different programs. I mean, we just got another $2.5 million accessible to us for funding for students to get fully paid for training to go through these accelerated boot camps I was referencing, including like marine tech that we have, marine maintenance technician, which is for the boating industry and things like that. And I know Lori has as well. She'll probably be able to talk to healthcare a little bit on that side, but I know the corporate training side is starting to really come alive in her area too. But when it comes to micro-credentialing, you would have to set the corporate, customizable training stuff that we do like globally for GM and things like that aside, because that's their own credential component that we certify for those. When you were talking about what Chris was speaking of earlier with SACA certs and our certification that we provide, FANUC certs, things of that nature that we're embedding into these. And again, Lori will talk about healthcare certs and things like that. Those would be our accelerated programs. And most of those students in our area, I'd say we're somewhere around 85% of those students are fully funded by some sort of, funding source via Michigan Works or a direct grant from DOE or National Science Foundation, what have you. And to answer your first question, which was, are the credentials helping monetarily? Well, our controls tech program is our highest level in pay that we're seeing, as well as our longest program that we have. It's 544 contact hours. And most of the time people receive a job that's tied to that, that description. So it's controls technician, and they'll get a controls engineering job. And without our certification, as well as some other third-party certs, I'm not so sure that they would get the wages they're getting. I mean, their starting average wages right now are $20 to $27 an hour right out of the door. So high school diploma 10, 20 years ago, come in for 14, 16 weeks, and they're out the door at 20 to 27 bucks an hour. Within a year, they're making 75 plus. So, those credentials make a difference. I don't think if they walked out with no third-party cert, no Macomb Community College cert, they would be like, okay, yeah, you say you do, but those credentials provide the validity for a company to say, we understand that you are able to perform the work necessary to complete the task.
I think that parallels that Amazon example that I was giving. They come in without anything, they can start, but they're going to take a 18-month program to get up to speed with Amazon and do it the Amazon way. Maybe Amazon's a big example, but I think there's other industry that are kind of doing the same thing. They'll have in-house training programs and say, okay, well, you can work here for, the first 12 months, but I'll train you in what you need to be trained in. We're doing these accelerated programs that are pretty intense. And I think Patrick's program is pretty similar to what OCC is doing as well, in that they're getting some industry recognized credentials and things like that, saying you have X, Y, and Z competencies. But let's remember, that's less than 3 months of training. And really that serves as the probationary period for those employers. So they know that they're, willing to learn. They know that they're coming every day. And that's a big factor for employers, because they can hire somebody, but the cost of retention and retaining those folks is a lot of money when we look at that. So back to that credentials and in those kinds of things. Yeah, I think it does bump them up and have them earn a little bit more money. I don't have any real data within a particular, corporate setting, but I do know the same things like Patrick was mentioning from the training programs. We do track those individuals, and they are, when they come out with some of those programs, the robotics and the automation and things like that, they're making good money, really, without a background. Now, Lori's probably in a similar situation. We've got some sterile processing, we're working on some mammography and some vascular and a CNA. Now, the wages are not what they would be from robotics and automation there. So I don't know if, Lori, if you want to talk about some of your credentialing as well.
Well, as far as in the health area, so I'm in the health area, and those credentials that we offer are usually tied to a license or to something else. So that many of those areas, those, students or employees need that to be able to work in that position. Again, Sandra, like you said, the industry recognized, we have our phlebotomy program, and that is industry recognized. They're really, once they receive our certificate of completion, those employers know, what they've been trained on, and that they're ready to go as a phlebotomist. And so those are the things we try to align, our credentials with the licensing, what they're looking for, what the is required in the industry. For instance, pharmacy technician, that's changing. The PTC board has began to change the training. So they went from, no trainings required and really no license, nothing. And then they're slowly moving that up. So, right. So now you need to have, then you needed to have a license. Okay. And now you need to train in a qualified program or work for a CVS, Walgreens. They're still honoring those. However, next step is coming. They're going to expand the training. So we're looking at, expanding our training as well to fit into that category, to keep them relevant so that when they go out there, they can get a job, you know?
So it's more, so I deal more with incumbent workers. And to me, it sounds like, in my thoughts on all of it, because, big push for credentials, everything credentials, but incumbent workers, as you all know, like the employer, like, can you train them in 15 minutes? Train them to do everything in 15 minutes, please. And that would be super duper. So the micro credentials is where, I'm thinking, because then it builds, and because honestly, the credential and the programs that you're all talking about to me sound more like academies, where it's a little more intensive, and they go, and it's kind of a little bit like the certificate programs and the things that we have in the credit area. It's intense. This is going to help you get a better job. Yep. We're going to get you into the workforce quick, and this is how it's going to be. Where a lot more of what I'm doing is, corporate clients are coming and they're saying, okay, you need to make our people better. You need to give them skills. And to your point, Sandra, yeah, a lot of it is leadership and things like that, but a lot of it's technical skills. And so trying to come up with a micro-credentialing that adds to a credential that allows employers to get their incumbent workers trained with some extra support and funding that's available for credentials. But then I think it was you, Sandra, that said aligning it with credit area programs so that there is some kind of articulation. Oh my gosh. Like,
I mean, really, that's what we have to be like. So what we are is an entry point for individuals, the community college, right? So they come to us for a career pathway, for a skill they need right now. If they have to get a project management credential, or they have to get something in order to do better at their job or to keep their job, as to Lori's point with healthcare, they need a credential, they need this in order to maintain their job. And then what else can they keep coming back to us for? And so that's where the alignment with, what's our credit team doing and how we can embed ourselves in that. We've embedded tooling you in some of our programs, because our credit program and some of our non-credit programs, because our credit programs are using that. So if we introduce it in a non-credit program, then it's an easy transition over to the credit programs. We haven't done this yet, but we're looking at launching D2L for our non-credit program, so that all the information's in there, so that if they go to transition over to the credit program, they're already familiar. There's no learning curve and the ease of jumping from one side to another. I mean, we train a lot of people that are degreed individuals. They have a background in something and they have a 4-year degree, but they couldn't figure out a career path. I mean, not to say that there's anything wrong with getting a philosophy degree or a music degree, but the long and short answer is, if you've got children and a family to support, that's going to be maybe tough unless you're an instructor somewhere, or a faculty member, or working at a university. So then they come back to us and say, well, okay, now what can I do at this point? Or when the economy falls apart and they need something. So, I mean, a lot of the folks, they are folks that have been educated. They're not high school folks into the programs. And working with business and industry, I think for us, it's kind of hard to embed those credentials in incumbent workers, because of the fact we do customized training for those companies. We don't pull stuff off the shelf and say to our companies, employer A, this is what you need. We don't do that. We say, okay, here's a sampling of some of the stuff that we do. From this, how can we make it fit your needs? Here's some competencies, here's some outcomes. So we customize the curriculum. So embedding those certifications, unless it's an off-the-shelf curriculum, becomes a challenge at that point for us. So when I say we're not doing it much with the incumbent workforce, we're really not, unless it's tied to like going pro talent funds, where they need a credential, they need a certification. So it's not that we don't want to do it. It's just the opportunity hasn't presented itself as much.
Renee,
Amy,
go ahead.
I was just going to add to that. When you're talking about the corporate training side, we were able to, conduct a real focused corporate training, incumbent training effort last year. I don't know how many people we trained. It was hundreds. Anyway, it was quite a few. And we used government. There was a county grant that came through that we were able to fund the training for employers to send incumbent workers through our programs. Now, they were not customized, as we do that for sure, as Sandra referenced, the same thing. But these were programs, these were open, continuing ed classes that they just stuffed people in. And one of the reasons we were able to obtain that funding is because the credential that came with that class. Now, your first question though, did it improve the students' wages after that? Well, probably not. I think the investment from the employer was a big deal. If they already had that planned as part of their training, we did have a couple that went through a consecutive group that ended up being, okay, now you're trained in this skill set. Those folks just got a raise, whether they got the credential or not. They just went through the training because the employer recognized our abilities to train them on that skill set. And I'm not so sure that the credential made a difference for them, but they did get it, and they have it now forever. So that's something, but it did allow us to do the training and provide that training. It was, $500,000 in total that was sent out in our county for, I think it was like a 4-month period that they were able to do that. And without the nationally recognized third-party cert, we wouldn't have got it.
Yeah. Renee, are you doing anything with credentials and micro-credentials? No?
No, we every time I love attending these, I get so excited, but then the jealousy comes up. We don't have federal funding. We don't have any funding. So on the non-credit side, a little bit of going pro. Anything I'm offering is not yet accepted over on the academic side. So no, just keep talking. I'm just
Your mic keeps cutting in and out, Renee.
Oh, sorry. So short answer is no.
Bummer.
Well, hey, Renee, anytime you want to collaborate, you're welcome to give me a call. Give us a call, Lori or myself. I hate to throw Lori out there, but I know she's a super person. She'd take the call. Her and Michelle Valen, my counterpart in HBS. You're welcome to give us a call if there's any time we want to, do a jazz session where we just try to strategize on how to do that.
I will. Thank you. I want to do a road trip. I'm going to hit you all up. That's my plan. I can't wait to be in person again, but I was going to call Lori and Michelle because I'm looking at phlebotomy right now. I'm going to try that up here. It's offered somewhat varied within the academic side. I'm hoping just to do a quick program to get that going. So I will be hitting you guys up. I'll call you.
Yeah, we'd love to have a tour. We're a little different. We're decentralized. So, we're kind of embedded in a lot of the curriculum that the deans really oversee, both credit and non-credit. But that there's some pros and cons to that. And one of the pros is we're more aligned with some of the outcomes and some of the activities that the credit side of the college does. And the other side of it is we have a little bit more insight into some of these funding opportunities. Yeah. But you're more than welcome to come out. We'd love to have you. I'll show you the MTech facility. It's our pride and joy. And I know Lori and her team and Michelle and even on BIT over at the Business Information Tech, Ellen, she'd love to give you a little tour of what they do as well. So you're always welcome.
I would love that. We just our MTech was our pride and joy too, and we just closed it last year.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, we keep an eye on who's closing them. Yeah,
that was sad. So now I have a little. I'm on the academic side now. I'm out finally, on the right side of the tracks, and have an office over here. So. I have nowhere to train, but I have an office. So
right.
Interesting. So even though you can't really talk about the micro credentials, what kind of cool things are you doing right now? Because I know you've got to be doing some stuff that might spark like some of the things that we do in our area.
Not a whole lot of Sandra of cool things. We're right now nurse aid is keeping me super busy. I'm running that 12 months out of the year in 2 different locations. So that's keeping me busy.
Okay.
I have a large grant with my OSHA. So I do chainsaw safety. That keeps me busy. And I'm just doing I do a lot of safety. I do mine safety for all the mines up here. And that's about it.
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
We don't get to do that down here. Nobody has ever asked me for chainsaw safety. That is awesome. I mean, so your perspective is just different, and I kind of love that, you know? I mean, so one thing, Renee, too, that we just started dabbling in is sterile processing technician. And so that's the cleaning of the instruments and things like that. And so that's a nice thing. So on a career pathway, those nurses assistants or something like that, if they want to bump up a pay level, that's a need around us. I don't know if that would be a need for you guys.
I like that. You know, we have one hospital and it's small. So, yeah. And I'm looking at like laddering. So we just started the MA program here on the academic, but before that I ran the clinical certified. It was just a small certification, credentialing type of training that went over pretty well. So what I'm going to try to do is feed my CNAs and former CCMAs into the phlebotomy. So I'm going to try to ladder that and see what happens. And it's my understanding that our nursing department now is trying to make CNA mandatory for the nursing program.
Ours are looking at the same exact thing. I don't know if it's a state requirement that they're hearing about this, but that is something that ours are definitely doing. And I think too, a couple of things that I've heard from, you know, folks around us is what could set those CNAs apart in hiring them, say in an assisted living or something else, is having that phlebotomy like we're talking about. And then two other components, the ability to dispense medicine. There's something wrapped around that. And then the dementia care certification around that. So looking at those as additional credentials is that we can offer. They don't want us, our nurses, our nursing faculty don't want us to bundle, because I'm like, we can bundle that all together and make it a short-term training program. Like, we don't want you to do that. We want you to segment it. So some other things to add on there. I mean, the assisted living folks are really having a difficult time finding folks that are qualified in. To set them apart, to get them to that wage, I think they have to have the ability to dispense medicine and phlebotomy. And then if they have that dementia care, it's a real plus.
Well, Sandra, I feel much better now. Thank you for that, because I'm already doing those. We're building them right now.
Maybe you can help me.
We're working on that. Our biggest challenge right now, we don't have people to work. And I'm sure you guys all have the same thing. Yeah. You know, Walmart just raised their rates, their hourly wage is $18 to $25 an hour. And our assisted livings are at $12 an hour. Our my goodness. Are at $14 an hour. So how do you compete? So, you know, my CNA classes went from 14 people down to, I just canceled November because I had one person registered.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
The need is there, but the population is not.
So can you, I mean, you know, that when you look at how you looked at, can you hear me or no? Did I freeze? Okay. Can you look at how you could then make that maybe instructor led live and have a classroom in a virtual format so that you can get some of those folks that are outliers? Because I know you guys are pretty spread out, and with the winter months coming and things like that, probably makes it more challenging to travel. Is that an option for you, or are you already doing that? Maybe, I don't know.
We did that once. I got approved by the state to do virtual, and definitely looking at that again for sure, because, you know, trying to find even trainers right now. I mean, we have needs out there so badly. We just don't have and I know it's not just us. The population doesn't want to go out and work right now. You know, we're facing that. We have a couple of employers that are larger, mid-size, and I say mid-size for us, okay, bringing in busloads from, they're working with the feds on bringing them in from other countries to fill the spots.
You know,
Spanish speaking for classes.
You referenced something that's an interesting idea. You know, we started the Marine Maintenance Tech program, and with your footprint around the Bay, there's a few larger marinas there that are in dire need for techs. I mean, they were part of a statewide effort that we participated in, and we launched the program. It's the first of its kind in the state of Michigan last year, and maybe there's a way that we could do some virtual and then some hands-on at your local spot. I mean, there's some ideas, I've been trying to figure out how to talk to these marinas about sending their folks over to us from the west side anyway. So
That'd be awesome.
maybe there's something we could do there, like a mixed hybrid kind of a situation, since we already got the faculty and we already have the program that's recognized by ABYC. Maybe there's something we could do there. Anyway, when you come out, we can talk about it.
All right, sounds good.
So when I was talking with in the rehearsal with some of the presidents, they were actually talking about what they were calling 1+1s. And so kind of similar to what you're talking about, they at one of the colleges do some of the coursework, and then at the other one they do the other, and it depends on where the expertise or the availability lies. And that kind of sounds like what you're talking about, Patrick. Very cool. All right, friends, it's 11 o'clock. We get a 15-minute break. Then we're coming back to talk about bridges between credit and non-credit. And then we get lunch, and then we get to talk to some presidents.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Good conversation.
All right. See you in a little while. Bye.
Bye.